So here's my team. I'll start. At the end of the year, I had Tom Brady at quarterback. I had Colt McCoy. I had Kyler Murray. This was the one I was talking about a couple of weeks ago, that I really am in a bad place here with the quarterbacks. And then the running backs, I was kind of always just patching it together week in and week out here with the running backs. So I had Michael Carter, Ty Chandler, James Conner, Deontay Foreman, Antonio Gibson, Ty Johnson, Zonovan Knight, and J.D. McKissick. So
Nothing exciting.
Nobody there that's like a workhorse back or anything like that. It is literally week in and week out kind of doing matchups and injury fill-ins and all that kind of crap at the running back position. After that, the wide receivers I have are Jamal Agnew, Brandon Ayuk, Calvin Austin, Odell Beckham, who obviously didn't do anything for me last year, DeAndre Carter, T. Higgins, Van Jefferson, Devontae Parker, Amari Rogers, Deebo Samuel, Ben Skarnek, and Mike, my man, Williams, rounds it off.
So you have 4 solid receivers in T. Higgins, Deebo Samuel, Mike Williams, and Brendan Ayuk.
Right, yeah. I would say that it's a pretty solid core of wide receivers. I don't necessarily need to go into this offseason thinking I need to upgrade that position. If somebody falls to me, that might be a position I look at. But the tight end is really another strength of this team. And in this being tight end premium, there were weeks where I was starting 2 of them every single week. You know what I mean? So I'll run down it real quick. Mark Andrews, Daniel Bellinger, Mike Gesicki, Hunter Henry, Travis Kelce, and Charlie Kohler. Charlie Kohler. So those guys Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews I was starting basically every week. Gesicki, once he gets onto another team and they actually throw him the ball, will be a guy that I'll be thinking about starting, I think, every single week. So I'm pretty solid there and probably even have a surplus. So that might be one of these things where that might be a position I look to move somebody in order to maybe fill a void at the running back position or I'm not really sure. But since the season has concluded up to this point, I've actually made a couple of moves already to strengthen my quarterback room a little bit. So I had like I said, I had the 12th pick in the draft because I picked JB Hurley and he won. I picked him back-to-back years and he's won back-to-back years. The second time was kind of as a joke. That blew up in my face. That's a quick way to be JB. But so I ended up trading the number 12 pick. I also had Chig. I can't remember. Okonkwo, thank you very much, as a tight end. I traded those 2 picks, or the pick and the player, and I ended up getting Daniel Jones in return, which I thought was a pretty big win in a super flex tight end premium type of thing. I know I'm giving up a young, pretty good tight end in his rookie season, but the 12th pick in the first round, there's no way you're going to get a quarterback there. No.
That's a massive win, by the way. I saw that trade go through, and I was like, what a win by Matt.
Right, and with Tom Brady obviously retiring and, Kyler Murray, who knows when the heck he's going to play, I needed somebody. And so Daniel Jones, I thought, was a pretty solid move and kind of helped bolster that quarterback room a little bit. And then this past week, I was getting some. I put Kyler Murray out there as kind of a trade bait because I want to do better my team even more, and it's a guy that just isn't going to help me first half of the season. So I wanted to try to get a good second quarterback, and I put him out on the trade bait. I was getting the same trade twice in a row for the 6th pick overall in the first round, and I wasn't going to bite on that alone. So I ended up, there's somebody else that put something out there on the trade bait, and it was, they had all their first round draft picks, which they had a bunch, 1-3, 1-7, I think 1-11. And Jared Goff was on there too. So I thought to myself, would I rather have Goff and the number 7 pick, or would I rather have Kyler Murray? And this team, with guys like Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews, I think I'm in a window. I don't necessarily want to let those guys just kind of fade, or especially Travis Kelce, just fade here into nothingness. I'm either going to have to move him, or I'm going to have to kind of go for it again.
Try to win now. So is that what you're doing? You're trying to win now?
I think I'm going to go for the win now move. Goff and Daniel Jones, I think, are a good enough combination with the strength of my tight ends there that and my wide receiver core that I feel like I'm okay there. And now it's kind of one of these things where I'm going to have to try to start attacking running back. So what are your guys' thoughts, I guess, on my strategy, on my team as a whole, anything?
Yeah, you're in a weird spot because you're like right in the middle,
Right?
Which is a weird spot to be. And with that receiving core, the way I look at the receiving core, it's really solid. And you got a good mix there with Brandon Ayuk and T. Higgins, two young guys. And then you're going to have Deebo Samuel and Mike Williams. If Keenan Allen gets moved, Mike Williams is more likely going to be a wide receiver 1 again. T. Higgins has a chance to be a wide receiver 1 again. Deebo Samuel always has a chance to be a wide receiver 1. Brandon Ayuk, having both those guys, it's kind of hard. So in having 1-7, I think I'm with you. Like, you definitely, it's not even a question. You need a running back. Like, you have James Conner, and that's it. You can't account Antonio Gibson whatsoever, and that's your second best running back. So having 1-7 off the top of my head says, okay, you're going to get a quality running back there, because it's going to go definitely in this league where quarterbacks go early. Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young. Those 4 guys are going to go. Bijan's going to go 1. So that's 5. So you're guaranteed. Then most likely receiver is probably going to go Jackson Smith and Jigba, Quinn Johnson there. And in worst case, it's or Jahmyr Gibbs, most likely. Yeah. I would love to see if there's a way you can move up to from 1-7 to 1-6. If there's any way to go about doing that. I don't know what it would take to move up 1 spot. But at the same time, you might miss out. That's what the idea of getting Jahmyr Gibbs, but there's no guarantee because Anthony Richardson's not guaranteed to go in this spot.
Right. Absolutely.
So I would also look, I'd feel really comfortable at 1-7. Like, can I get a Zach Charbonnet? Let's see if one of these guys gets drafted higher than I think they go, whether it be Evans, if it's, A-Chain, who knows where it's going to go. Kendrick Miller looks like a monster. Your strongest suit is obviously your tight end. So you said Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews. And like, if you had another running back to go with James Conner, your team's in a pretty good spot. Because now all of a sudden your weak spot's probably your quarterback position.
Right.
And it doesn't matter about Kyler Murray, because if you're trying to compete now, then that he does not help you in the beginning of the year, like you mentioned. So, and I love the fact, me personally, that you have Mike Gesicki. I think Mike Gesicki's one of the best buys in Dynasty right now. I said that beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and now it's the end of the year, and I still think Mike Gesicki is one of the best buys in tight end premium. His values absolutely plummeted overall in Dynasty. So to have Mark Andrews is a nice spot to have, because he's your number 1 with the upside of Gesicki. And with the second round pick, you're probably likely you could draft a tight end if you wanted to later in the draft.
So I don't actually have a second in that. I think my next pick is a 3rd, and then I have a 5th and a 6th as well.
Well, so regardless of that, I think the definite move here is, in my opinion, moving Travis Kelce. And I would love to offset my double 49ers wide receiver set there and either move Deebo or Ayuk. Preferably, I'd prefer to move Ayuk, and that's nothing against Ayuk. It's just Deebo Samuel's stuff.
It's funny. In the startups I've seen, they're going like almost in the exact same spot.
So
really interesting that how people have changed their views on the receivers in just this one season.
And that was the thing. I held on to Ayuk. I got both those guys in the startup, and I got kind of chuckled at, and that was fine. It was a value at the time, and that's why I took him. And then Ayuk had a pretty down second year, especially the start of his second year. And people were trying to lowball me for Ayuk. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm going to hold on to Ayuk. I really do. I like the talent. I think he's a quality player. And this year he proved he came back and obviously he outscored Deebo. It was, mostly due to injury and stuff like that. But I think people are starting to see that he is a very talented player. If he was the guy, I think he would have a very good shot at being a wide receiver 1 from a talent standpoint. I think they're both going to be kind of cannibalizing each other a little bit here and there until either one of them breaks loose or an injury occurs. You know what I mean? Like, especially with Christian McCaffrey there now, kind of taking some of the stuff away from Deebo that made Deebo as special as he was. So without Christian McCaffrey injury or without somebody kind of getting injured there, those two are going to cannibalize each other a little bit. So I'm with you there, Rich. Like those guys, I do want to move one of them. I'm not sure which one, but it might boil down to which one I get better return
value for. Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And using the Dynasty GM here, I think you're in a really good spot. And this is exactly why the Dynasty GM is so great, to give you this bird's eye view of your league, right? Because it's so hard to say, okay, I have these strengths. I'm
I'm
strong.
doing the same thing, by the way.
Yeah, I'm strong at tight end. I'm strong at receiver. But like, who's not? And looking at the GM here as an overall view, and I immediately put the GM out of dynasty mode and put it to contender mode, right? To see who's competing. Because sometimes dynasty, if you have more draft picks, it's going to bump you up in the GM. So you want to look at contender mode to make sure like who's competing and who needs some veterans. So like Travis Kelce to you is a veteran that you probably want to move. And maybe you want to move Mark Andrews. I don't know. I would want to move Kelce, but either way.
Sure.
And you want to move one of those receivers. And I also know that you're a fan of Kadarius Toney from a risk. So looking here immediately, there's two teams in the top 4 that are contenders, and that's our back-to-back champion and JP Hurley and Rob Wozniak. Now, both teams looking at the GM, they're both weak at receiver. They're both super weak at tight end, and they're the two strongest teams at running back. So those are my two targets right out the gate. And to kind of give you an idea of what's going on with these teams, like Rob Wozniak at running back has Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, Damian Pierce, Rashad White, and Isaiah Pacheco. But then at tight end, he's got Tyler Higbee and Dallas Goedert. So he's a little thin there.
Yeah.
Made the playoffs last year, so he's probably like, oh, another, Travis Kelce would go a long way.
Sure.
A Travis Kelce and a Brandon Ayuk is going to go, or Deebo Samuel is going to go a really long way. Depends what you want to get back. You might want to get a first and a running back here. And for Hurley, he has George Kittle at tight end, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty much just George Kittle.
Yeah.
And then at receiver, he's got CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, Juju, Tyler Lockett, Corey Davis, and Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, he's got some stuff. Yeah.
Two strong guys, but this wide receiver 3 is not. So getting a guy like Travis Kelce to him and the Brandon Ayuk, now you're helping a champion out there. It's going to be a big bonus. So it's like, what can you get back? Obviously, if he has a first-round pick at all, I don't know. It's going to be better than you. So those are two teams that I think stand out to me because having Tony Pollard, David Montgomery, Nick Chubb, and Saquon at running back gives you a little bit of play to go grab one of those guys, along with the fact that he has Kadarius Toney, who's somebody that I just know that you like in the upside. He'd probably have no problem turning that back in to you.